Okay, this video is going to be about creating and organizing directories and files, particularly from the context of Linux and specifically the CS server at Indiana State University. Okay, so a file system or directory structure is kind of like a tree structure. Over here on the left we have a visual representation of a portion of the CS server's file structure. We have the slash, which is the root of the file system. Okay, this is similar to Windows. The root of the file system is commonly the C drive, so C:\\. In Linux, this slash is a directory, and it contains these other directories. Okay, so when you see a path to one of these particular items in the file system, that's basically an address to a location of a directory or a file in the file system. Okay, so let's take a look at that. We're going to log into the CS server. You should all have the ability to log in at this point. I am running Linux locally on this machine, so I can use the command SSH and my username. So I'm going to use a student account. This is going to be CS10100, but whatever your student account is, that should work fine. CS10100, the @ symbol, and then the host name, cs.indstate.edu. Type in my password, and we should be good to go. So here I am logged into the CS server, and we have this item here. This is called a command prompt. Command prompt is prompting me for input. The computer is ready to receive commands, so I can give it a command here and it will execute that command. Alright, so this part here is my current path. It's my current location within the file system. So over here on this diagram, I've marked that with an asterisk. So this red asterisk is where my terminal is currently located. So this command prompt, you can make these command prompts say different things, but this particular one shows my username, CS10100, and then at what computer I'm logged into, this is the CS computer, and then what location within that file system that I am currently working in. Okay, this is /u1/class/cs10100. So slash is a directory, and then we look in u1, then we look in class, and then we look in cs10100, and this is where my terminal is residing right now. I can double check that with the command print working directory. So this prints out to standard output /u1/class/cs10100. Okay, so standard output is a way that the command can communicate. It's the channel in which output is received. Okay, and normally in the terminal, standard out gets piped to be displayed in the terminal, just like that. So print working directory is a command, and it prints out your current working directory, where your terminal is located. Alright, so I can try another command, ls, that lists out the contents of a directory. Okay, so ls. So this is the contents of my cs10100 directory. So we have backups, we have this desktop folder, we have this in-class folder, labs, right, and we have some other stuff over here, and that's all supposed to be included over in these items here. That means some other stuff, basically. Alright, my in-class directory has some other stuff in it too. Right? And we can navigate around in here. We can move where our terminal is located. So right now it's in our home directory. Okay, so we can change directory, CD. We can change that directory to labs, for example. Alright, I press enter. Now we see the command prompt has changed. This command prompt shows us our current working directory. But if we didn't have that, if we had a different command prompt, we could type print working directory. That is a command that shows us where our terminal is currently located. So I've changed directories to labs, so over here I'm going to move my asterisk over to labs. Okay, this shows me where my terminal is currently working. Now if I type ls, it's going to show me the contents of this current working directory. So right now in here I just have this lab1 folder. I haven't created any of this other stuff yet. Okay, so I can change directories again, and let's go to the root of the file system, cd/. Okay, ls. So I've changed directories, and we're all the way up here at the very beginning of the file system. All right, and let's take a look at what we have. These items in blue with the slash after them, those are other directories. Directories are another name for folders. You've heard of files and folders. Okay, so we have bin, boot, dev, etc, home. These are fairly common in most Linux installations, right? The CS server has an additional directory called U1, and that's where we store some user data. So we can type ls u1. So the ls command is right there, and you can provide the ls command extra information if you want to search somewhere other than the current folder that you're in. So I'm currently in the directory slash. If I type ls by itself, it shows me everything in my current working directory. But I can also provide extra information to the command. This is called an argument. I can tell the command I would like to see what's inside of the U1 folder inside of this current directory. So ls u1. There we go. So these are all the items inside of the U1 folder. I left all of them out on the diagram except this class folder. So we see over here somewhere we have class. Alright. So let's type ls slash u1 slash class. Okay, so this is a list of all of the CS student accounts. They're all contained in slash u1 slash class. Alright. CS101 is an instructor account, and CS10100 is the first student account. I like to get one of each. I have the instructor account, but I also like to have a student account, so that way I can do things from your perspective to make sure everything's working. Okay. So we have CS101, that's the instructor account. Again, it's slash u1 slash class. CS101 would be the instructor. CS10100, that's my current user. That's who I'm logged in as. So this is my home directory. And then CS10101, this would be another student. And this is meant to represent all the other CS101 accounts. The X and Y would be the two individual digits. So we see we've got 02, 03, 04 all the way down. All right. Now if you're in a different course, say it's CS151, this is CS151's instructor account right there, and then the first CS151 student account, 00, 01, 02, 03, right? So that's what these are supposed to represent. And then I left out all the other courses. So whatever course you're in, this is basically the structure, and this is where your home directory is going to be placed. All right. So let's CD back to my home directory. So there's a shortcut to get to your home directory. This is a path shortcut. It's called the tilde character. The tilde character is a path shortcut for your home directory. Okay, you can use it in another path, but it always represents your home directory. So let's say I want to ls list out the contents of my lab 1 folder. I could say tilde, which is my home directory, slash labs slash lab1, and that should list out the contents of my lab1 directory. Okay, so tilde basically takes my home directory right there. It's a replacement. So instead of this tilde, the terminal shell actually slaps in this absolute path to my home directory. So any path that has a tilde in front of it kind of behaves like an absolute path. An absolute path is any path that starts from the very beginning of the file system. Absolute paths have advantages because wherever I am in the file system, if I use the absolute path, I know exactly the item that I'm talking about. Okay, for example, I'm in my home directory right now. I can make a directory, mkdir, and I can call that bin. We'll type ls to see what's inside of my directory, and we see I have a bin folder. Now when I'm in this directory, and I type ls bin, I'll print out the contents of my bin directory. There's nothing in there right now, so let's make something. We can make a file simply by using the touch command, and I can say test.py. That's a Python program that I'm working on. Okay, so I want to create this file, but I want to create it in my bin directory. Okay, so touch is the command. It creates a file. I have a space. This is additional user information. This is the location of the file that I want to create. Now notice bin/test doesn't start with a slash. Okay, so it doesn't start with the root of the file system, so that's not an absolute path. This is a relative path. This is a path relative to my current working directory. So it's relative to where my terminal is currently located. So we see by the command prompt my current working directory is here, so I've moved the asterisk there, and we have our command touch. So bin/test.py is going to be relative to this current working directory. Okay, so I see I have my bin directory, and I can use a nice command called tree, which will show me the entire contents of all my directories and files at a particular location. So ls just shows you each individual item that you have in that directory. The tree command will show you those items, and if they're directories, it'll show you what's inside of those. Okay, so we see I created my bin directory, and I have test.py. That's what this touch command did. Okay, makedir, mkdir, created the directory, and then touch created the file inside of it. Alright, so this is the directory structure that I have starting from my home directory. Alright, so I have this bin folder in here. If I type ls bin, bin is relative to where I'm currently working. Up here in the root of the file system, we also have a bin directory. So if I change my directory to slash and type the exact same command, ls bin, I get different results. These are all the binary files, or a lot of them. These are commonly the terminal commands that you would type. All right. So cp, the copy command. So these are a lot of the different commands that you have access to from the terminal. All right. But the point is, ls bin means something different because bin here is a relative path. Now, if I type an absolute path, I want to use the bin directory that's inside of my home directory. All right. So what I have to do there is I have to specify the absolute path. So /u1/class /cs101.00/bin. Now, this is an absolute path. There's no mistaking it for something else because it starts from the root of the file system and tells me exactly where to get to the item that I'm looking for. All right. If I say just bin, that is relative. It's relative to some other starting point in the file system. So if I'm starting here, bin means this. If I'm in my home directory, bin would be directly under that file, or that directory. Okay? So that's the difference between absolute paths and relative paths. Absolute paths always start from the root of the file system. Okay? And we can use the tilde character. That's going to change our directory, cd and space. Where do we want to change directories to? The tilde character, that's a shortcut for our home. And sure enough, we're back home. pwd, print working directory, that's our home directory. That's where our asterisk is. Alright, so at this point, let's kind of take a minute, and I'm going to talk about my local machine instead of the CS server. So in this terminal screen, we're still logged into the CS server. I'm going to open up a new terminal window, and this is on my local machine. You see my command prompt for my local machine is a little bit different. I don't have the same stuff that I do here. Like I said, you can customize all of that. So right here, my command prompt says I'm at tilde. That is my current working directory. So if I print working directory, my home directory on this machine is /home/Luke. My username for this directory is Luke, or for this computer. Okay, so that's my working directory. Now if I open up a file browser, all operating systems have some sort of graphical file browser. So this file browser is basically showing me the same stuff. If I type ls in my home directory, I see BB, that's where I keep some Bitbucket projects. I have desktop, documents, downloads, all the common stuff you might see in almost every operating system. It creates these folders for you, right? Over here in the graphical version, this is a graphical user interface. It's called a GUI. You might have heard that before. Okay. This is basically allowing you to explore the file system the same way that the command line is. Okay. It's just whenever you click on one of these items, I'm going to click on desktop. What this is going to do is it's going to change my directory, CD, like the CD command from the terminal, and then it's going to display the contents like ls does. Okay, so it's doing both of those things at once, and it's listing things out in a graphical way, right? So we have extra little icons here that tell us a little bit more information about the type of data in this directory, but I can do the same thing on the terminal. I can change directory CD into desktop and type ls. Okay, and I also have some visual cues to let me know what type of data I have. So the graphical user interface has folder icons, right? That tells you that these are directories or folders. From the terminal, usually those are blue, or they might have a slash. On the CS server, I believe they have a slash after them, and they are blue. Okay, so these are directories, and then text files are usually white, and my particular shell does different colorization for other things too, like JPEG files. Okay, so it's important to realize that the graphical user interface is pointing to the same path, right? If I print working directory up here, this is the same path, /home/luke/desktop. That's the same path we have here, /home/luke/desktop. Okay, so these two things are doing the same thing. Anything you can do from the file browser, you can do from the command line. In fact, most graphical user interfaces are just running commands in the background. They're running terminal-based commands in the background, but they have a nice, shiny, pretty graphical user interface that allows you to click and drag and do different things. But behind the scenes, all it's really doing is terminal-based commands. Okay, and most graphical user interfaces are doing that in most applications. All right, so graphical user interface is the graphical version, and then the terminal uses a command line interface, or CLI. Okay, and that's just a text-based interface. It's a way to interact with the computer using only text input. All right. So we went over print working directory. We did the ls command, and you can provide a path to that. We know the different types of paths. There's absolute and relative. And if you have a tilde in front of it, the tilde is a shortcut, but it can be treated similar to an absolute path because the shortcut represents the absolute path to your home directory. Okay, so let's get back to the CS server here. And I'm in my home directory, print working directory. Right, so this is what gets swapped out for my tilde character when I use the tilde character in a path from the command line. Alright, so the tilde character is a path shortcut, and it means the home directory. Dot dot is the parent directory. So if I'm here, the parent directory is class. So I can do cd dot dot, and that will take me up one level. Print working directory /u1/class. So I'm here now. Now I can cd dot dot slash dot dot. That's going to take me to the parent, and then that parent. Print working directory /. So now my current working directory is up here. cd tilde. That's a shortcut for the absolute path of my home directory. So I'm back down here. Okay, so this is not much different than a graphical user interface where at any point you're exploring the contents of one particular directory. So your view is located in that directory. Okay, so we also have some command options here. So I'm in my home directory. A command option is a specific argument added to a command that the command understands. Okay, so the ls command has a specific option -l that tells the command to list things out instead of horizontally like this. It's going to list things out vertically and provide some extra information. Okay, so ls-l and I could provide as the third argument a path. It just turns out that I don't want a path right now. I want to list out the contents of my home directory. Okay, so if I don't provide a path, it's going to assume it's my current working directory. Alright, so these are the items in my home directory. Backup bin, desktop in class, right? I can also use ls-a. Okay, the -a shows any hidden items. In Linux, a hidden item is an item that begins with a period. So you can have hidden text files or hidden folders even. Okay, I can create a hidden folder. And a lot of times applications will have hidden folders so that way users don't interact with them and just the application will edit those files. All right. So I can combine these two options, -al. So it lists out all files, so the hidden ones as well, and it has the -l option, which gives us the additional information. Okay, so this gives me, the username of the owner of the file, the date, the last time it was modified, and then file permissions and that sort of thing. Okay, so these are called options. Options are arguments. They are additional data provided to a command, but they're special types of arguments. They are arguments that the command specifically recognizes. So every command, or most commands, you can type the man command, which will give you the manual pages for that command. So man ls, it lists out the directory contents. Okay, and then this gives you the options that you can add. These are all of the switches, all of the -ls and -as, that sort of thing. Okay, -a, do not ignore entries starting with dot. So those are the hidden files. So it lists out all of those. Okay, and then the -l option down here somewhere is use the long listing format. So this gives you the additional information. And I use both of those together with -al. Alright? And up at the top we have the synopsis. This is how you use the command. It's the command name, then any command options, and you can have several, and then the file or the directory that you would like to list. Okay, so that's the way you use the command. You can combine any number of options that you would like. Alright, so that's the ls command, and if you're in the man command, you can just hit Q to quit, and it takes you back out to the command prompt. So notice when we were in the man command, ls, the entire screen changed. This is a program that runs, and it takes over the terminal view. Okay, so when we're in this view, we can no longer type normal Linux terminal commands. We have to exit the program first. So if we press the character Q, that exits us back out to the command prompt. Now we can execute normal Linux commands. Alright, so let's get through. We know how to make a directory. Let's make a directory called lab2, mkdir, and we want to, first let's see what's inside of our labs directory. I'm going to change directory and go to labs. Okay, that's going to take us over here. I'm going to say ls, so I want to make a directory, lab2. There we go, I've got lab2. And I want to make some files in that. So to create a file, the easiest way is with the touch command, and I can say lab2 file1.py, and I want to put that in my lab2 directory. Right, so currently I'm in labs, and I want it to go into lab2. Okay, so lab2/, and then that's the name of the file that I want to create. ls, type the tree command. I got lab1 and lab2. There's the file I just created. If I press the up arrow key, I can cycle back through all of the commands that I've typed, and I want to make an edit to one of them and make a second file. And hit up a couple times and run tree again. So the arrow keys let you cycle through the commands you've already typed before, which is kind of handy. Okay, so we've got this lab2 directory, and we've got 2 files in there. And let's say I want to move that. Turns out this was actually lab3 I've been working on, and I want to move this folder. So I'm going to move lab2, and I want to move it to lab3. Okay, so move command allows you to move a folder somewhere, but also allows you to rename something. Okay, so let's say I actually want to move this this to my home directory. So I want to move lab3, and I want it to go into my home directory. If I do this, it's going to keep the same name that it had, and it's going to be lab3, and it's going to be in my home directory. Or I can rename it something else right here, and I can rename it back to lab2 if I wanted. Alright, so if I type ls now, we see lab3 is gone, and if I change directories back to my home directory, type ls, we see there it is, and it's changed its name to lab2. Type the tree command, we see lab2, yep, it's got those files in it. Alright, so let's say I want to make a backup of lab2. Okay, so I can use the copy command. CP stands for copy. And if I want to copy a directory, I need the -R command option. That means recursive. It means copy not only the directory, but everything inside of it as well. So recursively go inside of that directory and copy all of those items. Okay, so copy -R. What do I want to copy? This is the source. Lab2. And then what's the destination? Where do I want to copy it to? I'm going to copy it to my backups folder, and I'm going to call it lab2.backup. Okay, so if I type tree, now we see in my backups folder I have lab2.backup, and then those are the files. But in my home directory I still have lab2 and those files. So that's good. I've successfully made a backup, and there's two of them now, right? That's what a backup is. I have this one. I saved all of the data, the state that it was in at this point. And now let's move lab2 back into our labs folder where it belongs. Okay, so we'll use the move command, and we're going to move lab2. Where do we want to put it? We want to put it back in labs. Type ls, it's gone. We can type the tree command, right, to see, to verify. And sure enough, it's not in our home directory, but it's inside of labs, lab2. Okay, so that's how you can move things around. We also might want to remove some files, remove different things. Let's say in lab2 I just want to start over, start fresh. So I want to remove some files. I'm going to remove the files from labs/lab2, and well, first let me make one more real quick. Touch, and I'm going to make a README file for lab2. Labs/lab2 readme.txt. Okay, tree command. So we've got this extra file in here. Now let's say I want to keep the README file, but I want to delete these Python files and start all the way over. So I can remove labs/lab2, and I can use this special star character that's going to expand to any file name that has a .py at the end. Okay, and it's going to ask me for each one because the remove command is a little bit dangerous. There's no recycle bin like there is on the graphical Windows and file browser interface. So when you remove something, you're deleting it for good. Okay, so it's asking me, am I sure? And I type yes. And am I sure I want to delete lab2-file2.py? Yes. Okay. So when I type the tree command, we see that I have removed all of the .py files. So that was the star. Any file that matches the pattern ends with a .py. So it can be named anything as long as it has .py at the end. Okay. So that's the remove command. If I want to remove a directory, -R, and F means force, where it won't ask me specifically if I want to remove that item, like it just did when I used the remove command. It asked me if I wanted to remove every single item. That's fine sometimes, but when your directory has thousands of items in it, you don't want to say yes to every single one. Okay, so the -F option forces the removal. It won't prompt you. It won't ask you about if you want to delete each and every one of them. Okay, the -R is like the -R on the copy command. It means recursively. Not only do you want to remove this folder, but you want to remove everything inside of it. So the -R means recursive. So these two, this command and these options is commonly referred to as rimraf. Remove and recursive force, the removal. Okay, so the command is remove, rm. We add a command line argument, -rf. It's also command line options. So options are arguments, and then we're going to add another argument, and that's what do we want to remove? Well, I want to remove labs/lab2. Okay, turns out I don't want this folder at all. Okay, so I'm going to remove it. Now if we type the tree command, we see labs, lab1, and lab2 is completely gone. Okay, so that's the basics of organizing and creating directories and files.